On a quiet spring night, just past midnight on April 13, 2025, the governor's residence in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, an elegant, historic mansion nestled beside the Susquehanna River, lit up in flames. Not from celebration, but from an act of terror. Inside, Governor Josh Shapiro and his sleeping family were unaware their lives were seconds away from devastation. The fire wasn't an accident. It wasn't a warning. It was a deliberate attempt to kill. The suspect? A 38-year-old man named Cody Allen Bulmer, unemployed, politically obsessed, and burning with rage over Middle East policy. What would drive someone to torch the home of a state leader, risking the lives of children, all in the name of politics? This isn't just arson, it's a window into a growing storm of radicalized discontent in America. And this is only the beginning. Hit like, subscribe, and let's go. Governor Josh Shapiro began that April day like any other, rising early in the stately governor's residence, the same building where leaders of Pennsylvania had lived for generations. The halls echoed softly with the steps of his children getting ready for school. His wife brewed coffee in the sunlit kitchen, while he scanned briefing notes at the dining table. Outside, the river shimmered gently, and Capitol security officers performed routine perimeter checks with quiet confidence. It was a place of order, a home guarded by both tradition and law. Shapiro, known for his calm demeanor and decisive leadership, had a packed schedule, meetings on infrastructure, healthcare, and a closed-door discussion on foreign policy statements that recently stirred emotions online. Yet none of it felt unusual. Just another spring day in the life of a public servant. But as dusk settled and the household dimmed for the night, something darker was already making its way toward them, quiet, unseen, and full of fury. It began with the faintest sound, too soft to wake most, yet enough to stir the seasoned instincts of the overnight security detail. A low metallic clink near the garden fence, followed by a rustle that didn't match the wind. A shadow moved where none should have. Minutes later, smoke curled silently under the kitchen door. Upstairs, a motion sensor blinked red. A security officer radioed in a check, but before the response came, flames burst through a window near the service entrance, licking the walls with sudden violence. Inside, alarms screamed to life. The Shapiro family jolted awake, disoriented, coughing, shrouded in smoke. Josh's first instinct wasn't fear, it was disbelief. Not here. Not like this. As responders raced to the scene, none could explain yet how the fire started, or why. But someone knew. And that someone was already gone, vanishing into the night while questions smoldered in the ash. And somehow, this felt planned. As dawn broke over Harrisburg, the once proud facade of the governor's residence stood scorched, blackened bricks, shattered glass, and the bitter stench of chemical smoke hanging heavy in the air. Investigators combed the site, but something wasn't right. The fire hadn't spread naturally. Traces of accelerants were found in odd, deliberate patterns, windows, doors, along the baseboards. This wasn't a spontaneous act. It was calculated. Meanwhile, Governor Shapiro reviewed early reports in stunned silence. The timeline didn't make sense. Surveillance footage showed a figure near the fence hours before the fire, dressed in a hoodie, face obscured, moving with eerie purpose. And then there was the message, spray-painted hastily on a back wall, half-burned but still legible: "No justice in genocide." It chilled him more than the flames ever could. This wasn't random. It was political. Personal. Targeted. And though authorities advised calm, inside Shapiro, the anxiety grew. Someone had crossed a line, and they weren't finished. Not yet. 2 days after the fire, federal investigators uncovered a chilling clue: a small, scorched device near the garden wall. Not a bomb, but a camera. Homemade. Hidden in a birdhouse. Its memory card had survived the heat. When decrypted, It revealed something no one expected: multiple nights of surveillance footage, all fixated on one subject: the governor's daily routines, his children's playtimes, the timing of lights switching off room by room. The footage was detailed, obsessive. A name surfaced next: Cody Allen Balmer. A 38-year-old local man from Pembroke. No criminal record. But online, a different story. Anti-government rants. Obsession with Middle Eastern politics. And dozens of cryptic posts about Shapiro, accusing him of betrayal, war crimes, and silence over blood. It clicked. The message on the wall wasn't random. It was a manifesto. Governor Shapiro sat motionless as the news landed. He wasn't just a public target. He was the center of someone's twisted crusade. And that crusade had nearly ended in fire. As the investigation unfolded, Governor Shapiro learned the full extent of the danger he and his family had narrowly escaped. Cody Balmer wasn't just a lone arsonist, he was a radicalized individual fueled by a toxic mix of political anger and misinformation. Balmer had meticulously planned the attack for months, studying Shapiro's movements and exploiting security gaps. The motive was clear: retaliation for Shapiro's public support of Palestine, a stance that had ignited fierce debate across the nation. The revelation hit hard. This was no random act of violence but a chilling example of how political divisions had morphed into deadly threats against public servants. Shapiro felt the weight of his office heavier than ever, knowing his policies had painted a target on his back, yet refusing to be intimidated. The fire was a warning, a fracture in the fragile peace of American democracy. Fear mixed with resolve as the state braced for what might come next. The threat was no longer distant, it stood at the governor's doorstep, dark and unrelenting. Cody Balmer's arrest had sent shockwaves, but intelligence revealed he was just one node in a wider network of discontent and extremism simmering beneath the surface. Shapiro faced a grim crossroads: escalate security measures that could isolate him from the people he served, or risk leaving the door open to further violence. His family's safety weighed heavily, yet so did his duty to uphold democracy and free speech. The governor wrestled with the impossible: how to protect without imprisoning, how to lead without dividing further. Every decision felt like walking a razor's edge. As the nation watched, the question hung in the air: would Pennsylvania's leader bend to fear, or stand firm against the gathering storm? The next move could decide not only his fate but the future of political discourse itself. Just days after the arrest, a devastating leak shook the governor's office to its core. A trusted aide was exposed for secretly sharing sensitive security details online, unknowingly fueling the very threats they vowed to prevent. The breach left Shapiro vulnerable, his family's safety compromised in a way no alarm system could guard against. Media frenzy exploded, painting a picture of chaos and betrayal. For a moment, it seemed the attack had succeeded beyond flames, trust was shattered, and political enemies whispered that the governor's leadership was crumbling. Yet, amid the rubble of doubt, Shapiro found a flicker of resilience. Rebuilding began not with walls or guards, but with renewed transparency and a pledge to unite a fractured community. The crisis tested him, nearly broke him, but also sparked a determination stronger than ever. Could this be the moment that transformed fear into resolve? In the darkest hours after betrayal and fire, Governor Shapiro found unexpected allies, community leaders from across Pennsylvania's diverse neighborhoods, united by a shared refusal to let fear dictate their future. Together, they organized public forums, bringing citizens and officials face to face, dismantling the walls of suspicion that had grown so quickly. A crucial breakthrough came when a neighbor discovered footage from a home security camera, capturing Balmer's final moments before fleeing, a detail that helped piece together his motives and connections, strengthening the case for justice. Shapiro's leadership evolved from isolation to solidarity, showing a vulnerability that earned respect rather than weakness. The embers of destruction became the spark of renewal. Through shared resolve, the governor reclaimed not only his home but the trust of his people. In that moment, hope was rekindled, a testament that even in the darkest fires, light can prevail. Months after the flames were extinguished and the smoke cleared, Governor Josh Shapiro stood before a crowd, not just as a leader, but as a symbol of resilience in a deeply divided America. The attack had shaken Pennsylvania's sense of security, forcing the state to confront uncomfortable truths about political extremism and the fragile line between free speech and violence. Shapiro's resolve had sparked conversations about unity, vigilance, and the price of leadership in turbulent times. Yet, the questions linger: how do we protect our democracy without sacrificing our freedoms? When does political passion cross into dangerous territory? And, most importantly, what role will each of us play in healing a nation fractured by fear? The story doesn't end here. What do you think comes next? Hit subscribe, share your thoughts below, and let's keep this conversation alive.